City Council workshop for April 23rd, 2025. And we'll start off with roll call, starting with Councilor Gilmer tonight.
Counselor Gilmer here.
Counselor Schenkel here.
Counselor Childers here.
Council President Vermillion here.
Council Botsford present.
Council Bartholomew, present.
Mayor Kaiser present.
Assistant City Manager Matt Corthell, present.
Dan Huff, City Manager, present.
Kristy Teets, City Recorder present.
Associate Planner Jamie Viveiros present.
All right, thank you, everybody. Kristy, I can't find a script, so I'm going to go off the cuff here.
Community Development Report.
Yeah, no, it's right here. Not in there. All things discussed during this work session cannot be voted on until we actually convene regular council. So there won't be any voting. And up we are discussing tonight is draft ordinance 2025-04, amending Molalla Municipal Code Section 17, 3.6.030, public use areas. And Ms. Corthell or Jamie? Jamie, you're up. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Tonight we'll be discussing the draft ordinance for the parkland dedication or fee in lieu. It was brought for discussion to the Planning Commission on March 5th, and it was brought to the City Council for discussion on March 19th. And tonight we have the draft ordinance language to go over with you, and we hope to, if you have any changes, make those changes. If not, either way, we would like to bring it back for first reading and public hearing on May 28th. So for an introduction, the 2014 Molalla Comprehensive Plan Park and Recreation Policy 2.2 states that developers shall be required to provide park space or a fee in lieu to ensure parks are available to citizens and/or funds for improvements of existing parks are available. The Parks, Recreation, and Trail System Plan was adopted by City Council on February 12th of this year, and that established a new standard for park land dedication of 7 acres per 1,000 residents. So currently in the Molalla Municipal Code, we have section 17-3.6.030, which is titled Public Use Areas. And the current language in that very briefly discusses dedication of public use areas and system development charge credits. So this section will be replaced with the updated code language that we have a draft of tonight to reflect the current policies and standards in the adopted plans. And DLCD has been provided a copy of the draft ordinance. They have one comment thus far, but they hope to have their full review done by May 7th. So for the proposed changes, I'll just go through the subsections with you, and this is, the draft ordinance was included in your agenda packet. There may be 1 or 2 minor changes in the presentation, but overall the language is very similar. So residential, subsection A will be the minimum parkland dedication requirements. Residential subdivisions, master plan developments, multifamily developments, and any division of land that could legally be split into 4 or more lots or parcels under the current development code shall be required to dedicate parkland to the city. The parkland dedication requirement shall be 0.007 acres per person based on the adopted standards of 7 acres per parkland per 1,000 residents in the Parks Plan. Subsection A continued will require that persons per dwelling unit shall be calculated at the following levels. For development densities of 0 to 12 dwelling units per acre, it is 2.7 persons per dwelling unit. And for development densities greater than 12 units per acre, it will be 2 persons per dwelling unit. And the 2.7 comes from the Census Bureau persons per household for Molalla from 2019 to 2023. And that is standard. We've seen that with other municipalities that have also adopted parkland requirements. They also use the standard of 2.7. And then required parkland shall be dedicated as a condition of approval on the following: subdivision of land or division of land that could be legally split into 4 or more lots or parcels on the preliminary plat. For multifamily development, it will be on the site design review. And for master plan developments, that's the preliminary plat or site design review as applicable. The current process in our code allows for either or a combination of the both, depending on the type of master plan development. So just use the appropriate process for that. Subsection B is calculation of the parkland dedication acreage. For single-family land divisions, the required parkland dedication in acres is equal to the proposed number of dwelling units times the persons per dwelling unit times 0.007, which is the per person parkland dedication factor. And then DLCD, the initial comment that I had mentioned, I'll go ahead and read you the email that I had received from them, just so you can get an idea of what they were thinking. They said OAR 660-046-0110 subsection 3, citing and design standards that create unreasonable cost and delay and include any standards applied to duplex development that are more restrictive than those applicable to detached single-family dwellings in the same zones. And they said the city's methodology categorically requires double the exaction of duplexes by assuming each unit has 3 occupants. A unit-neutral method of doing this would be tying it to a metric that doesn't scale by unit count, the most accurate of which is floor area, which correlates better with actual occupancy and is consistent with HUD guidance on exactions and complies with state law. For example, assuming X number of occupants per 1,000 square feet. The HUD guidance goes into further detail about how such a metric could be crafted to correlate with users rather than dwelling count. This would essentially we would have to go back and sort of change all these calculations and everything we've drafted up so far. So I asked BLCD if instead of changing everything, if we could have a statement in there that duplex dwelling shall count as a single dwelling unit rather than 2 dwelling units in the calculations. So they are having their housing office see if that's okay. So I haven't gotten an answer back on that yet, but I should have a response by May 7th from them. And then for multifamily developments, the required parkland dedication in acres would be the proposed number of dwelling units times the persons per dwelling unit times 0.007 minus 0.115 times the buildable acres. So the difference in this one is that it allows multifamily developments to reduce the amount of required parkland dedication by the required 15% common open space requirement that they are required to provide for their residents already. So they're not having to provide essentially double open space or parkland. They'll sort of get a discount on that parkland dedication because they already have open space and amenities for the residents that live in that development. Subsection C is the dedication procedures. Parkland required by this section shall be dedicated on the final plat for subdivisions or divisions of land that could be legally split into 4 or more lots or parcels. And then with multifamily developments where you don't have a final plat, you would record a deed, easement, or other appropriate document prior to issuance of building permits. And then again, for master plan developments, it would be either of those options or a combination of both. For phase developments, the required parkland for the entire development shall be dedicated on the final plat for the first phase. And then prior to final plat approval or building permit issuance, the applicant shall clear, fill, and/or grade all parkland to the satisfaction of the city, install sidewalks adjacent to any street, and seed the parkland. Subsection D is the minimum parkland standards. So land required or proposed for parkland dedication shall meet all of the following criteria. A, it must be contained within a single continuous unit, so essentially not breaking it up into smaller little park pieces on that property. B, it must be a minimum size of 0.25 acres, which is the smallest size, standard size for a mini park. You don't really want something smaller than that. C, it must abut an existing right-of-way or a proposed right-of-way within the development, or an access easement to the parkland must be provided. D, it must be in an area designated as proposed parkland or within the park acquisition and development areas on the proposed system map in the City of Molalla Parks Recreation and Trail System Plan. And E, it must not be subject to any other easements or encumbrances. Hold on one second. Subsection E is the fee in lieu of dedication. A fee in lieu of dedication shall be required if the proposed parkland to be dedicated cannot meet the criteria set forth in subsection D. The fee in lieu of parkland dedication for a subdivision or division of land that could legally be split into 4 or more lots or parcels should be paid prior to the approval of the final plat. The fee in lieu of parkland dedication for multifamily development shall be paid at the time of building permit issuance for the subject lot or parcel. And then the fee for master plan developments would be either or. And then a fee in lieu of parkland dedication is separate from the park system development charges and is not eligible for a credit of park SDCs. Subsection F is the calculation of fee. The amount of the fee in lieu of land dedication in dollars per acre shall be set by City Council resolution based on the real market value of land as determined by the Clackamas County Tax Assessor, And then I did reach out to the assessor's office to sort of see what the difference between the market value and the assessed values were, so I'll just go over the information that they provided. The real market value is what a property would have sold for on the open market as of the previous January 1st at 1 a.m. All of the RMVs are currently as of January 1st, 2024. The maximum assessed value is a statutory calculation that was implemented with the passage of ballot measure 50 in 1996. If nothing happens to a property in a given year, then its MAV from the previous year is increased by 3%. And then the assessed value would be the lesser of those two. So that sums up the language in the draft ordinance. So I just had a few questions. I want to switch those around, but my first question would be, would you agree that staff's recommendation to add the language regarding the duplex dwellings to be treated as single-family dwellings be appropriate? Or would you like to go in the direction that DLCD had initially recommended using floor area ratio?
Sir?
Can I provide just a little bit? Jamie doesn't have the benefit of having been here when House Bill 2001 came before us and required us to allow duplexes in any lot where a single family is built. The way that we handled that was by basically making a duplex a single family residence in our code. So what
Each
she's
unit.
suggesting, yes, sir. So what she's suggesting would be consistent with our handling of duplexes under HB 2001, and kind of keep a consistent standard throughout the code of how duplexes are dealt with due to that state law. So that's just some food for thought for you guys.
Clarifying question on that. We have like West Street here in the city garden court that is filled with townhouses, basically two-story duplexes. Would they automatically fall under duplex? They're two units connected, they're mirror image of each other. So there's two units in a building, so do we need to incorporate townhouses into the duplex
I think
terminology?
those are all built on zero lots. They're separate lots. There's a property line that goes between that firewall
Okay,
so that would be a different category.
okay. Okay, no problem.
That's another kind of odd state law that came down about, what, a year ago now? I mean, we did a list the other day, there's like 20 of them. But, yeah, that one was a new one where you can basically take an undersized lot and make common wall dwellings with individual lots, which is actually kind of a nice thing for ownership opportunities for folks who maybe can't afford something bigger, but that's a new rule too. So it's kind of weird. That's why you guys are
Right.
like, what? Is that you could take a smaller lot and put several townhomes on it with common walls and split those lots off so each individual is an owner, almost like a condominium without the HOA.
Mel.
Yes, Ray?
In my opinion, I think you should wait to hear back from DLCD with your suggestion instead of go through and change absolutely everything and see if they would like to go with that. That's my opinion on that, for that part of it.
And it didn't sound pessimistic. She said that may work and that she just wanted to get a definitive answer, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. There shouldn't be any issues with that.
And also just a quick follow-up to that. If DLCD comes back with different advice than what we're expecting, and I don't expect them to, we would come back to you guys with a whole new discussion. I think we're kind of wondering if DLCD comes back and says, hey, yes, that works for us, does that work for you guys too? All right.
Perfect.
I think you had a consensus with that.
And that was really the only direct question I had. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have, if you'd like to see any changes in the ordinance language.
Go ahead.
You're first, go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay. Will you explain to me just a little bit for the assessor's office about the real market value, where it says as of previous January 1st, 1 a.m., so that's January 1st of 2024, right?
Yes.
And then will that move as this progresses a year prior for like every application that would come in for that, or are we sticking with January 1st, 2024?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I believe we'd be sticking with those values that they have now. And then as it would get adopted by resolution, so that resolution could be updated as necessary.
Gotcha,
on a
okay.
yearly
Exactly.
basis.
So your annual fee resolution is when we would revisit that and see if you want to update those numbers to more current numbers that assuming like we're in almost May of 2025 and we've only got January 2024 numbers. So assuming they have fresh numbers out, you guys could make the decision.
We want to make sure that also down the road that it can make sure it's revisited.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, 10 years from now, when none of us are sitting up here to make sure that they have those, to go back and
That's right.
update.
Yep, so basically it would look like on the fee resolution, if the assessor's office had provided an update to real market values at that point, we would put that on there with the question of, do you guys want to change this or do you want to leave it where it is? And you could obviously leave it at those 2024 rates. That would be a little bit more difficult for us to access administratively because, generally we can just go to plan map, click on the property, and it'll give us the real market value, but it's giving us whatever they have on file. So right now it's January 2024 numbers, but that's not, we'll navigate that.
Do we have a schedule of when that gets updated?
Supposed to be updated every January. How long it takes them to get to that, I think is just a matter of their processes, procedures, manpower,
Is there language we can put into the resolution to, it automatically goes to the most current, so it doesn't have to come back for resolution?
You guys could absolutely do that.
It kind of takes a step out of it.
I agree.
Good thinking.
That way you guys don't have to bring it back every time I'm sure every time you get some sort of subdivision coming in and we got to go through this process, you're going to be coming to us and, oh, the fees, tax assessor raised fees, you got to vote on this before, which the developer's going to go, oh, they're trying to jack it up on me, And so if it's just set up where it's automatically raised as the tax assessor does their raising, I'd like to see language in that to kind of take a step out of the process. So it frees up your guys' time.
Yep, that's something we can absolutely do. It would just read something to the effect of, it'll be based on the real market value on file with the Clackamas County Tax Assessor as of the date of the application.
Perfect.
Yep.
I have a question on the mechanical part of it. Once we get the money from, like, the fee in lieu, is there a certain amount of time that has to be used, or can that money sit until something's planned out in the future? Is there any timeframes? And does it sit in a special account? How does that work?
Two parts. First of all, yes, it can sit there.
Okay.
Until you guys are ready to spend it on a project or a park or some land for a park. It does need to be spent on parks.
Right.
Since we're collecting it for parks, we'd be very restricted to only using it on parks, similar to SDCs.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and that wasn't a question. That was more of I know we're getting to the point and that we're running out of staff to man the parks. And so it's kind of silly to do something like this and start collecting if we can't use the money, if there was a certain amount of time we had to use it or lose it, and so that was my concern is, can we just keep it in a savings account until staff levels catch up to man the parks, we can keep building, so on and so forth.
Absolutely, and I think that this will, I don't anticipate that it's gonna go the full way in bridging that, the potential gap, there, but I do think it's going to narrow it. Because, these funds can be used on capital and those sorts of things, so dollars being fungible and all, if we've got, if there's money coming in from a different resource, now that can offset some of the capital expenditures that we would be making out of general fund and move that back to operations and maintenance. So
Okay.
that does help to narrow that gap a little bit, and then we'd be able to do a fuller assessment on what it looks like to continue adding and being able to maintain at appropriate levels.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else got questions? Sure? Wow,
I had a question.
you had two? You did good. Anybody else?
Nope.
Anything else you would like to add, ma'am?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, so all the decisions are made, consensus is done, and then you'll be coming back to us next month with this pending DLCD's decision?
Yeah, and it's anticipated, I think we have it on the schedule for May 28th.
Okay.
So we have some time in between DLCD getting back to us and that
Okay.
meeting, if we need to switch things around or.
All right,
And I personally don't see how they could possibly find against it based on the language in the law. I mean, it's,
Knock on wood until we use it, Mac.
I know, right, I know, fair enough.
Mac, it's the government, they're here to help.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'll cap it there.
All right, with that, I will adjourn this work session meeting at 6:23. We'll be back at 7 o'clock for city council.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Molalla City Council for April 23rd, 2025. Please join me in the flag salute. All right, I would like to remind all participants, including staff, elected officials, and members of the public, that Robert's Rules of Order will be enforced in this meeting. We welcome your opinions and look forward to your polite participation. Audience members, we request that you silence your cell phones and not conduct side conversations during the meeting. Thank you. And we'll go next to roll call, starting with Councilor Gilmer.
Counselor Gilmer present.
Counselor Schenkel present.
Counselor Childers present.
Mayor Kaiser present.
Council President Vermillion present.
Counselor Botsford present.
Council Bartholomew present.
Assistant City Manager Matt Corthell, present.
Engineering Section Manager Sam Miller present.
Finance Director Cindy Sharon present.
City Recorder Kristy Teets present.
And City Manager Dan Huff present.
All right, thank you. Does staff or council have any changes to the consent agenda, or to the agenda tonight?
Nope.
All right. Up next, we will look at consent agenda consisting of City Council meeting minutes, March 19th, 2025. City Council meeting minutes, March 26th, 2025. City Council work session meeting minutes, April 9th, 2025. City Council meeting minutes, April 9th, 2025. New OLCC liquor license for Molalla Petroleum LLC. New OLCC liquor license, change of location for cash liquidation. Appoint library board application and serial communication. And contract award Lola Avenue sewer and water line replacement. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second that.
Been moved by Councilor Vermillion, seconded by Councilor Schenkel. Is there any discussion? All right, Kristy, will you call the roll?
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right, up next, Planning Commission appointment for Ms. Kristy Hodgkinson. I think everybody pretty much knows Kristy. She's been very involved with our Parks Committee. Does anybody wish to call her up and ask for questioning tonight? Okay. I will take a motion to appoint Ms. Hodgkinson to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term.
I make a motion, we approve and appoint Kristy Hodgkinson to the Planning Commission.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Childress, second by Councilor Botsford. Is there any discussion? All right, Kristy, will you call the roll?
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 6-0. Sorry, pardon me. Vote passes 7-0.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
See, I told you I wouldn't be that bad.
Yes, you're nice.
All right, up next will be public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city, but not listed as an item on the agenda. Prior to speaking, citizens shall complete a comment form and deliver it to the city recorder. The city council does not generally engage in dialogue with those making comments, but may refer the issue to the city manager. Complaints shall be first addressed at the department level prior to addressing the council. Kristy, do we have any general comment that isn't on a subject tonight?
There is no general comment. We do have public comment for item 8A.
Perfect. So I will keep moving here. Up next, public hearings. Our first one will be ordinance number 2025-06, amending language in the Molalla Municipal Code, Chapter 10.70, towing and disposition of vehicles. This item requires a public hearing. I am opening the public hearing for ordinance number 2025-06 at 7:08. The purpose of this hearing is to hear a staff report and listen to public testimony. Does any council member wish to acknowledge actual or potential conflicts of interest? All right, Mr. Huff, council's ready for your staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This one's more or less a housekeeping process. And if you, you can just read the final paragraph in background. We are really proposing that we change the word tow hearings officer in some places, and then we also have public works director in other places. We have neither of those positions, and in other places in the code, it will say the city manager or designee. And so I can guarantee you we will have a designee in this particular process. And that way, we're not tied to a title, it's just whoever we designate. And so city recorder has gone through here and cleaned it up, so that's really the report.
Okay. Public comment for this item is now open. If there is anyone that would like to speak in favor or opposition, please raise your hand. All right. I will close this public hearing at 7:09. Next, ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 2025-06, amending language in Molalla Municipal Code, Chapter 10.70, towing and disposition of vehicles. Mr. Huff, do you have anything else you'd like
I
to add?
have nothing further.
All right. Having held a public hearing for this ordinance, we are ready to hold a first reading. Councilors, may I have a motion to approve, amend, or deny ordinance number 2025-06, amending language in the Molalla Municipal Code, Chapter 10.7, towing and disposition of vehicles.
I make a motion that we approve the first reading for ordinance number 2025-06, amending language in the Molalla Municipal Code, Chapter 10.70, towing and disposition of vehicles.
Second.
We have a motion and a, sorry. Is there any discussion? Or questions? I have one question. Who are you going to designate?
I was actually thinking about the city recorder.
Perfect.
I like it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Kristy, will you call the roll?
Certainly. All right. Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
As we have a unanimous vote, may I have a motion to hold a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2025-06, amending language in the Molalla Municipal Code, Chapter 10.70, towing and disposition of vehicles.
I make a motion, we hold a second reading and adoption of ordinance 2025-06, amending language in the Molalla Municipal Code, Chapter 10.70, towing and disposition of vehicles.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the second reading and adoption. Is there any discussion or questions? All right, Kristy, will you call the vote again?
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0. Thank you, council.
Thank you. Hopefully this cleans things up.
Very much so. Chief will be thrilled.
All right, up next, resolution number 2025-02, authorizing a contingency transfer in street fund maintenance. Cindy, we're ready for your staff report.
Due to, you said, isn't it 04? I'm sorry.
This one's 02, the street fund.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry.
It's all good.
I had the wrong one open. 2025-02, authorizing a contingency transfer in street fund maintenance.
2025-02, authorizing a contingency transfer in street fund maintenance.
Sorry.
It's all good.
I had the wrong one open. 2025-02, authorizing a contingency transfer in street fund maintenance. 02. The state of Oregon provides a fund exchange for our street projects. And the city had accumulated $601,398 when I put the budget together last year, but we weren't expecting to use it moving forward on the project, so we stuck it back into the contingency of the fund. But we did end up receiving some money this year, so what we would like to do is actually put it back into the project fund so we can spend it and use it. So that is what this resolution is asking for us to do, is to have authorization to put that project back in and to be able to spend that money. So my recommendation is to approve Resolution 2025-02, authorizing contingency transfer in the street fund.
All right, council, is there a motion to approve or amend resolution number 2025-02, authorizing a contingency transfer in the street fund?
I move to approve resolution number 2025-02, authorizing, excuse me, a contingency transfer to the street fund.
I second that.
There you have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, Kristy, will you call the roll?
Counselor Gilmer,
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel,
Aye.
Counselor Childress,
Aye.
Council President Vermillion,
Aye.
Counselor Botsford,
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew,
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right, up next, resolution number 2025-04, authorizing a contingency transfer in the sewer fund. Cindy, you're up.
Okay, so the wastewater upgrade project that has its own fund, and we've been receiving revenue from loans from the Clean Water Service revolving fund, but then what happens is we have to upfront that money, and then we have to wait for the reimbursement, and we did some float money for that, but it's proving to be insufficient for a couple of reasons. One of them is the contractor's working very quickly, which is good. And we are also going to start getting reimbursements from the USDA, which is probably going to take a little bit longer. So we are requesting to do is we have enough money in the contingency. We want to take some money out of contingency for that float until we get that reimbursement, so we can keep the project moving forward, and then that money will stay in the sewer debt fund.
Okay.
So my recommendation is to authorize a contingency transfer to the sewer fund, in the sewer fund, sorry.
All right. Council, is there a motion to approve or amend resolution number 2025-04, authorizing a contingency transfer in the sewer fund?
I move to approve resolution number 2025-04, authorizing a contingency transfer in the sewer fund.
Trent, second?
We have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion or questions?
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. So why are we putting them in the sewer debt retirement fund for holding? Is that what?
Well, it's the sewer debt fund,
Okay.
which is, it's connected with the wastewater project fund itself, because I'm gonna try to explain this.
Can I help?
Yeah,
Yeah,
help me.
I
It's
can help.
confusing. There's
So
so many pieces.
Basically,
in
the
it.
loan instruments that we have require
Yes.
certain debt reserves to be met, so we have to keep a certain amount of cash on hand. And so, in essence, what we're doing is a double whammy. This is that cash on hand requirement to meet our reserve requirements for those two loans, but we also have those monies available. So when the contractor gives us their bill, and then we submit it to USDA or SRF, a lot of times they're taking 30 to even 45 days to pay it back, and naturally those contractors are out that pretty big sum of money for that time period. This also provides that stopgap for us to be able to pay them, and then it just gets replenished as soon as we submit for it. So it's a stopgap in that sense, but it's also a debt reserve, so we're able to double whammy it instead of having to have a debt reserve separate and then a cushion for these payments that are taking so long from these agencies.
Perfect.
Does that answer your question?
It does. I think it's just the word retirement in there is what threw me off. Yeah, I understand the whole process and stuff. It was just like the retirement fund, I think, was the big word that kind of threw me off and wanted to question
It's
that.
still debt.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Kristy, we have a motion by Counselor Gilmer, a second by Counselor Vermillion. Would you please call the vote?
Certainly. Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right, up next, resolution number 2025-06, adopting the League of Oregon Cities cancellation policy. Mr. Huff, we're ready for your staff report.
Are you into this one or not?
That's you.
Thought I just approved the memo. So if you look in your packet, in the staff report there, we have actually been kicking something like this around since before some of you were even on council. And we've had some issues periodically where the city has paid for a conference and the counselor doesn't show up. We paid for, other things that the city does for you all. And so this basic resolution is including the LOCs, for LOC conferences, it includes their cancellation policy. And so when we sign you up for conferences, same thing if we sign staff up and then staff can't go, it's would apply. They have their different dates. If you cancel before this date, it's this much at that much, and so on and so forth. And I know that I had a conversation with one of you about other things that the city pays for, which would be, the Clackamas County City Dinners, okay, the C4 stuff. I know that the mayor couldn't go to C4, and what you have an option of doing, I think it was about a year ago or so, and one of the other city councilors took his place. Well, the city's not out any money at that point. So what we've built into this is that if you can't go and the city's out, we'll either take it out of your stipend going forward, or you can pay it back, however it works. And we're assuming that this goes without saying, but if we give you a stipend to go on the trip, you're just going to give that back to us. But if we're out the registration and the hotel room, if there is one, then that's really what we're talking about.
Okay. Going forward, I'd like to see an amendment on this, and that would, instead of it being just, basically it's worded as LOC, and I'd like to see it worded as any conference or event that the city pays for us to go to, and just eliminate LOC, just any event that the city pays for us to go to. That way, it's kind of a blanket statement, because I have two other conferences that aren't LOC, between OMA, C4, and, we have the Clackamas County dinners that isn't. I think cleaning up the language a little bit and making it more blanket, that way, if there is an issue down the road, someone's not gonna try to wordsmith it and say, well, it doesn't say OMA, or, whatever.
I'm happy to make those amendments and bring them back.
What was that?
If you prefer.
I was gonna let somebody make the motion, and I was just giving an amendment to put with it if we could. So, I'll make a motion. I make a motion to amend with an approval on resolution number 2025-06, adopting the League of Oregon Cities cancellation policy.
I second that.
Okay?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions?
I wanted to say exactly what you said, that I believe that if the city should never lose money on us
I agree.
because we decide to do something different. So I don't believe it should be limited to LOC.
Ray has a.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see anything in here, though, about, say, if there is an emergency. What if you got everything signed up and the day before you left, like, say, your parent died, and you're not gonna go because of that? I don't know if you guys wanted to discuss something like that or not.
Item 8 has cancellation exception requests.
That would be, my suggestion for the
There it is.
amendment.
You see it?
Yeah.
My suggestion for the amendment would still be for me to create the resolution still with the League of Oregon Cities cancellation language as an exhibit, but still create it so it's all encompassing for any city sanctioned event.
Perfect.
Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing you
Yeah,
say?
we could just add that language and
That-
that
perfect.
include anything else.
I just want to make sure, who knows who the mayor's going to be in 3 years and cancels out on OMA or whatever and says, well, it only says LLC conferences, not OMA. So just, I think getting the language right now is more important than trying to deal with it later.
Okay,
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing, what our mayor and Councilor Childress said, so I agree with it wholeheartedly.
great.
Okay.
So you'll trust that with the motion with your amendment is that City Manager Huff and I will just take care of this, and that Mayor, I'll be getting a hold of you for a signature. Okay,
Perfect.
Is that good?
is that?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful.
We have a motion and a second. We need to vote.
You ready?
Yeah?
All right. Counselor Gilmer,
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel,
Aye.
Counselor Childress,
Aye.
Council President Vermillion,
Aye?
Counselor Botsford,
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew,
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right. Up next, installation of EV pole chargers, city and PG collaboration. I think I heard Mr. Miller's going to take this on.
I am.
Welcome to council, Mr. Miller. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. Good evening. Yeah, we were presented probably about a month ago. PG approached the city on some additional services to provide some EV chargers within inside the city's boundaries. With that, it's basically the impact to the city is actually zero. They take on full installation and maintenance of those facilities. There are a few guidelines and rules that require for those installations on certain poles and whatnot with inside the city. I mean, obviously, there's some boundaries of what that looks like. What has been presented for you guys for examples is not the exact pole locations. Those are just some examples that were brought up. So the options are not unlimited. There are some limitations of those sites, what that looks like. It kind of spells out through the little presentation there that it's been presented to you guys as well. The good news is that it is fully funded by PGE. It is a limited program that will actually end this year. So this will not be provided ever again after this year due to funding from PGE side. Basically, there is a permitting process for this as well, and it depends on how you guys want to vote on it and if you guys want to move forward with it. But we could do a service agreement with PGE as what that looks like for if we ever want to have them removed. So just because they're installed doesn't mean they're permanent and they have to stay there forever. There is an option for those to be removed as well, on basically granting from the city saying that we want it removed at a certain time and date. But they do maintenance those for the lifetime that they are here. They do all the enhancements for parking as well. So if there are some requirements that require to meet street services or whatever that looks like, they'll provide ADA compliance, they'll provide the striping, they'll provide everything that's required to have that actually EV station installed on that pole location.
All right. Is that all?
Yeah, any questions on your guys' end? I'm assuming you guys probably read through.
Can I add one thing?
Go ahead.
I just want to point out that also, they've done a pretty good job here describing their process, how the process flows. I just want to go over that really quick. Site selection, site approval, permitting, outreach, installation, and outreach. And then they talk about actually, the slide above that, they talk about collaboration with the municipality. So any location that if you guys are amenable to adding these somewhere, you determine where. I mean, obviously, but I think it's important to point that out, that they're recognizing that and saying, hey, we understand that the municipality's gonna say, if we wanna move forward, you don't just get carte blanche. We're gonna tell you where these can go. So I just wanted to point that part out.
Okay. Did council have a chance to read the public comment that was submitted? Through email? Okay.
Both of
Perfect.
them.
Perfect. At this time, we do have a request for public comment, and I'd like to call Ms. Connie Sharp to the microphone. Come state your name and city you reside in, please. Or business, your city your business resides in.
So I'm Connie Sharp. My address is 22630 South Upper Highland Road, and Beaver Creek is where I live, but I have Pepco Designs and own the building in downtown 109 South Molalla Avenue. So I might be premature in talking here, but, you know, there were some concerns after I heard the prospect of possibly putting this EV station on our street. There's 15 parking spots right now, and there's 9 businesses and 4 others that could be open that are empty. So it doesn't give much parking for the people who have businesses there and, you know, customers coming in and out. I think there could be a lot better location. So I just wanted to express my concerns about eliminating my street, please.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank
you.
Appreciate you coming in. Kristy, I have a technical question.
Yeah.
Can we do discussion before we go for motions or anything on this, or is it?
You really need to, well, gosh, help me out, Mr. Corthell.
So it's not a resolution, so I
Right.
think that's acceptable.
Likewise, I think discussion, because ultimately what you need to do is to be able to have the discussion to make the motion.
Exactly.
On what you would like.
Directing.
to
Perfect.
direct staff to do.
Perfect. Okay. I'll start this off. I am not crazy about this. It's not that I'm not crazy about the program. I personally would like to see these charging stations put on commercial property or even our public parking lot. I think putting a cord dangling off a telephone pole, we're gonna end up, number one, having them strung out in the street, and somebody's gonna have to go pick them up. Number two, we're gonna have vehicles that are gonna be parking there that aren't charging or, you know, just living there because they're an electric vehicle. And I'm not crazy about the whole situation. And then another great point is PGE is saying they need more money off of our electric bills every month. And yet they're gonna go and spend this kind of money to put charging stations up and down our streets. I kind of have a bit of an issue with that. It's kind of rubs me a little bit raw. So I'm not crazy about the city streets. I think they could be better situated in business parking lots where if somebody's sitting in that spot, the business can take care of it and call the police rather than, you know, who knows how much time it's going to take for our officers to police these parking spots in our city. Besides the fact, I've heard a lot of stories about these cords getting cut because there's a lot of copper inside of them. And so I get a little bit leery of that being out on our city streets and a cord cut or a handle ripped off and a kid touches it or whatever. So I open it up. Sam, go ahead.
Sorry, I
Hold on
just
one
want to add to that. So the installation actually sits up probably about 20 feet off the pole, and they actually have a Q car code that actually is mounted on the pole on a little sign that you actually have to download their app and go through that process, and it actually drops the cord down. So the cord doesn't necessarily sit there hanging. You actually have to have the process to actually lower it to charge your car. But like you said, there could be situations where once it's done being used, somebody could still play with it or whatnot, or cut it or whatever that looks like. But
Right.
I just wanted to fill that in for you.
Okay.
As well, that there's a different process for that. So
Okay.
those cords just aren't dangling on the poles.
Okay.
Good to know. That is good to know.
Council, questions, comments? Go ahead.
Mayor Kaiser, I did, this was kind of a topic for me, and I kind of heard people's opinions as I walked in today, so I kind of know what generally everyone's opinion on. But I did want to state that I think that, and I did read the emails to the business owners and the parking situation, and that's great. Let's put them somewhere else. I mean, if they're going to do it for free, and I think it's like some of these cities that they don't plan ahead. Now, these electric cars, I'll never own one, but these electric cars people are buying them. And as our city grows, I think what's wrong with having that if it's free, and then we can get rid of them too if they don't work out, having them for our voters. People, like I said, I'll never own one, but I'm thinking about other people too that may be interested in our community. And I think we should have these things. And I was looking at the pictures before I got here, and I was like, wow, it's just you pretty much stick it on a pole. It's not going to take much room, and I'm sure there's like lots of areas in town we can put them where no one will care. But as long as we have, I think we should take advantage of what do we have to lose, And so I guess, it's like, yeah, these cities that grow, everyone gets frustrated. These cities grow, and then everybody's trying to get to work on a 2-lane road because the city didn't plan ahead. And these electric cars are, I mean, if you've seen one of the companies, they're coming out with a truck that actually looks like a cool truck. So they are catching on. And I don't want to leave anybody out. And that's all. I just want Molalla to be able to service everybody of everyone's taste and style and stuff like that. So,
All right.
Yeah, I just wanted to state basically the same thing as our mayor has stated too, that I'm not that huge of a fan of the EV cars, and I think taking our street parking away from our businesses is a mistake. But putting them in, like our mayor said, commercial property or our city parking, that can be, I think that's doable. But taking away street parking, no.
Councilor Childers?
Yes, thank you, Sam, for clearing up that the addresses they had listed in their presentation were not where they were really talking about putting them. Is that what I heard you say?
Right.
Okay, because out of the 5 places they put in this presentation, 1 would work, in my opinion.
Correct. And I mean, staff has reviewed this, but basically that's why when you read through it, it was just a presentation of just kind of showing examples of where they could go. But overall, it's going to be council's decision of those locations and cooperation with staff of where those would actually go.
Okay.
And I'll just add to that too, that we had the exact same take when we saw these locations, like, that's not gonna work at all. That's not gonna work. And so that conversation has been had, and there's other locations that have been looked at for potential. But again, we could, if you guys want to pursue these, if you determine to do that, we could come back and talk about locations a little bit more as far as some of the concerns I've heard was, downtown parking. They don't have to be in downtown. You guys absolutely get to pick if you want them and where you would be okay with them being if you determine to do that. So,
Well, I'm with Councilor Bartholomew. We need to be a little forward-thinking, at least some. And as long as they're not taking up parking spaces in our downtown area, and they are in a parking lot or in neighborhoods or something of that nature, I have no opposition to having the program itself.
Any questions or comments?
I'm just with you, Mayor. PGE is a huge conglomerate. They make a lot of money. So unless they're willing to pay for their service to put it in our town to give back to us as a community, and they're willing to have a cheaper rate for the users of the vehicles. When you buy an electric vehicle, you should already know where you're going to charge it.
Yeah.
Well, and just to add to that, we do have some recreational things that go around outside of town here. We have the corridor. So having maybe those chargers in town might be a good positive to invite people to spend the day up the corridor, and then they can come down and actually stay here at the town, plug their car in and visit some of the sites and go to dinner or whatever that looks like. So there are some positive things to it. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to pitch anything here for to sway you either way, but I'm just trying to throw some other ideas out there just so you guys can kind of get the full picture of what this all entails.
Mr. Huff?
What might be helpful to staff is maybe a two-part decision. One that, yeah, you're going to support EVs in town provided by PGE, subject to review of the placement of those charging stations. So we kind of know that we're working on something that
Right.
we're looking for a solution on.
I have one question. How much time do we have before this offer expires? I know you said end of the year. When, is there end of the year our fiscal year? Is it?
I'd have to follow up on that question. I don't know if it's the fiscal year or if it's the end of this year, like December.
Okay.
It was just presented to us that the funding will no longer be available at the end of the year. I'm assuming it's December.
Okay.
And I don't know if there's a time frame that the money has to be spent by either, so that's probably another question that I could probably answer for you as well.
Council, would you be interested in pushing this to a work session where we can discuss locations?
That would entail us trying to find locations?
Well, staff can bring us locations and we can bring ideas to the table too.
Or PGE can come back out and try it again and find locations that would be presented to us?
Yeah,
and
with
then
our
we would
guidelines,
decide
All
if
three
yeah.
of
they're
the above?
acceptable?
Yeah.
Sure,
I don't want to tie up our staff personally in looking
Yeah.
for a poll.
right. You know, and I think PG could also, I mean, I can't imagine the property owner where Safeway's at or where grocery outlets at. I wouldn't see why they would be saying no to having something like that in their parking lot. And we could also look at, public parking. Mr. Huff said the north parking lot would be a good place to put one or two places for vehicles to charge. You know, and it's not taking up our city streets. But I was just thinking maybe if we came back, you know, talk to PG about talking to some of our commercial businesses and seeing if they were interested. And, you know, I can look at a map, and I'm sure some of us, if we're interested, can look at a map and start working on a few locations to bring to the table. And would it be better to do it at a work session, or?
Well, my response to work session is that it wouldn't be until likely late July or early August that we could address this, because we have PCI coming up next,
Right.
and those are three be sessions.
What about one at the new park we're gonna be renovating? That'd be right next to the Buckaroo, so I think that'd be.
The
a good
new
one.
park? New park is not near the Buckaroo.
Or
The new park's
the one
not
we're gonna,
like
the one we're gonna
Buckaroo.
level out, I'm sorry, the one we're
Clark
gonna
Park.
level out, yeah.
We have limited parking there.
We probably have time with this matter to put it on your regular agenda.
Okay,
It's probably just as good to do it then.
okay. Perfect.
And we can come back with answers to some of the questions we've heard, like, the private property and some of that sort of stuff, of course, and, you know, but ultimately, we would, you know, would not wanna obviously spend any staff time on it if you guys are just not interested. So that's what we're
I
trying.
mean, I just think we want all people to come here and spend their money in our town.
I think I see council is interested, you know, for lack of better terms, with amendments on it. If that, it makes sense. Counselor Botsford?
I just want to say I'm completely against all of it. I don't think EV has anything to do anywhere. I think it leaves a bigger carbon footprint than anything else we have out there. I don't see it being a future thing. And I don't like anything that has to do with it. It's not for free. We already paid for it with all our
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we already paid for it.
rate hike. So it's not paid for, we paid for it.
Yeah.
So it's not for
Right.
free. I
Well,
want to
what-
set that clear. But I don't think, but I'm opposed against it.
Okay. Well, let's do this. For this to go on to the next council meeting to discuss location, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, how could it go on next council meeting? That's awfully sudden.
Well, the next available council meeting that Kristy can get this on, instead of it doing a work session.
Because we're gonna be depending on PGE.
Right, and I actually
before we
want to
come
add another
back.
thing to it. Are some requirements for these EV stations. I think they do have to be within the right of way, so it wouldn't be able to be on private property. The way the program functions.
Okay,
So basically, we're talking our roads.
Basically, yep, basically everything within inside our streets.
I'm not really for it either. Knowing, however, that the locations can be changed is much better, but there still isn't a lot of options, I don't think, where we're not going to be bothering people. And quite frankly, I agree with Doug. If you are somebody who's going to buy one of these cars, hopefully you already have some place to charge. But on the other hand, your point about people from Portland who do have these lovely cars coming out here and being able to recharge that's something to be thought about. It still ticks me off, though, the PGE is using the money that we're paying increased rates for to do this type of thing, so that they can make more money.
And I want to state, I'm not, I agree with you, all the electric car,
Yeah.
windmills,
I know
scam
you're
and all
trying to
that
say it
stuff.
wasn't any more cost.
Right,
I
understand,
think the whole thing's a scam too, but, you know, not everybody does, you know, and I
Right,
just
I
want
know.
to, you know,
So-
consider everybody's.
I'm gonna call point of order. I will entertain a motion for these EV power stations to go forward at the next available council meeting. If council wants to make a motion and it passes, we will move forward. If council doesn't make a motion, then it dies. Does council wish to make a motion tonight? Motion dies.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time, Sam.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. Up next, city manager contract renewal. At the March 26th executive session, council met with city manager Huff for an annual review and evaluation of employment-related performance. I have been in contact with the city attorney, Chad Jacobs, regarding renewing the city manager's contract. The city attorney's office recommends that the council consider the proposed renewal agreement if the council wishes to retain the services of city manager Huff by adopting a motion and authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the city. Council, is there a motion to approve a new 2-year agreement with Mr. Huff?
I make a motion that we approve the new 2-year agreement with city manager Dan Huff.
And I second that.
All right, is there any further discussion or questions? All right, Kristy, you have a motion and a second. Will you call the vote?
Thanks for keeping my boss.
You're welcome.
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Now you should say thank you.
Thank you. I've stayed. Passes 7-0. Now, thank you for keeping my boss. All right.
Kristy, will you remind me to talk to you about something on this?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Post-meeting, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, up next, Ant Farm, Strengthening Our Roots, a community event. This will be a council-led discussion. A motion will be necessary if a decision is made. So basically, Ant Farm sent me an invitation, and it's for any of us. They are having their fundraising event, which unfortunately, I don't have the flyer in front of me. I'm thinking it was in your guys' packets.
It is.
It is on May 17th at the Mount Hood Resort, going up toward Mount Hood. There's individual registrations, and then there's also a table registration. And so I'm coming to council to ask, with everything that Ant Farm's done in the community, from the homeless cleanup to the restroom cleanup and everything else, would council be willing to entertain a motion to buy a table and come sit with me at their their annual fundraising event that they do for the communities? Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I unfortunately already have something to do that day, so I can't make it. Otherwise, I would attend with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can find staff to go too. They like going.
Someone's got to take my place. I'll find
Yeah.
staff to replace me.
But If council's interested, like I said, this is their main fundraiser of the year. I'll let somebody else make a motion and try to make it simple and easy.
I make a motion the city of Molalla purchase a $400 table sponsorship for the Ant Farm Strengthening Our Roots community event and fundraiser.
Second?
It's moved in second. Is there any questions or discussion? All right, Kristy, we call for a vote.
Counselor Bartholomew,
Aye.
Counselor Botsburn,
Aye.
Council President Vermillion,
Aye.
Counselor Childress,
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel,
Aye.
Counselor Gilmer,
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
Okay. Crash. I need to find this. I should have just brought a copy with me. Oh, you got it up. Good. Up next, another council-led discussion. Clackamas County announced that they were deciding this week on how they feel regarding the proposed tax that ODOT is coming down with on us and our constituents. And so I drafted a letter. Well, before I get into that, I have a list of all the new taxes that they are talking about.
Oh, gosh. I got that in the mail. I was like,
As soon as I get this to
oh, my
open.
gosh.
Come on. There it is. What they're proposing is a 50% increase on gas tax. And then that would also be automatically tied to inflation. A new 3% tire tax, a 60% increase in car sales tax, additional 1% on second car sales tax, a $66 increase on car registration fees,
Oh, God.
a $90 increase on car title fees, an 80% increase on payroll tax, a 16.9% increase on weight mile tax, which has to do with semis and heavy trucks. New Amazon, UPS, and FedEx delivery charges, new mandatory road usage charge, and a $9.50 increase bike tax. I'm not sure about everybody, but personally, until ODOT it gets some sort of full audit, this is just throwing gauze on a wound. And so I drafted a letter, and I was hoping council would vote to sign it so that we could send it out to the county, we can send it out to our legislatures, and as of the email I received yesterday, we could also send it to LOC. LOC is in support of all the new taxes that legislature is proposing, and giving lessons on how we can sugarcoat it for our voters. And get
Oh,
our
my
voters to support it. And I can forward you guys that email, or Dan has it.
came from Macaulay.
Yeah, Dan has it. He can get it to Kristy and send it to you guys.
Wow.
So, letter states, to our county and elected officials, on behalf of the Molalla City Council, we are writing to express our formal opposition to any new taxes being proposed to support Oregon Department of Transportation. Molalla's relationship with ODOT is longstanding, with Highway 211 serving as our primary arterial through town and Highway 213 crossing our western boundary. However, despite decades of partnership, our community continues to be underserved. Our main street, Highway 211, has not been repaved from the city limits to city limits in over 20 years, despite our residents consistently paying over 40 cents per gallon in fuel tax during that time. Meanwhile, adjacent segments of Highway 211, from our west boundary to Woodburn and from our east boundary to Estacada, have been repaved multiple times. When inquiries are made regarding the lack of investment in Molalla, we are repeatedly told that no funds are available. Yet ODOT recently allocated over $30 million in grants for sidewalk improvements across the state. This contradiction raises serious concern about the agency's funding priorities and fiscal management. The current tax proposal under consideration extends well beyond ODOT's core mission of maintaining roads, highways, and bridges. It includes provisions for rail initiatives and environmental studies related to immediate transportation infrastructure needs. Further, the proposal reintroduces sales tax on new vehicles and tires, mechanisms that Oregon voters have consistently and clearly rejected. We also strongly oppose additional taxes on the trucking industry, which already shoulders a disproportionate share of the transportation funding, raising constitutional equity concerns. The residents of Molalla are already facing significant cost of living pressures, including rising utility rates approved at the state level. Asking them to bear additional tax burdens without clear and demonstrable improvements in infrastructure investment, particularly in underserved communities like ours, is unacceptable. ODOT must first demonstrate responsible stewardship of existing resources. We urge the legislature to require a full financial and operational audit of the agency prior to any consideration of new funding. Until such accountability measures are in place, we strongly encourage you to oppose all proposed transportation-related tax increases. Thank you for your time and consideration of our community's concerns. Sincerely, Molalla City Council.
You can auto-pin me on that one.
So basically what I'm looking for is a motion and a second. And I would like all of our council to sign this, that we can distribute out. Like I said, I would like to send this to all our county elected, state legislature, ODOT, and then I would like to also send this to LOC, their executive committee, and their lobbyist group, because I believe LOC especially has not come to all the mayors and city councils and talked about this. It's something that they just chose to support. So, is there any questions on anything? One of the other points I wanted to bring up was on the tax on heavy trucks and equipment. Currently, the state of Oregon is against its own constitution. Small vehicles, heavy vehicles are supposed to share the same burden. Currently, right now, heavy trucks are sharing 2/3 of the burden, while small vehicles are carrying 1/3. And the state hasn't addressed this in over 2 years. And now they want to increase the tax even more on heavy trucking, and which really does hurt we have a lot of residents here. If you go by Troy's Diesel, you see the semis that are parked in there. Most of those people are private owners that are getting taxed to death by running their own business. So I wanted to clear that up, so I did call them out on it, constitutional, and it has been brought up by legislature, and they're trying to find a way to get it into the rolls to try to deal with it, but it hasn't been dealt with in 2 years, since it's been found. Yes, sir?
Well, ODOT, in my opinion, is out of control. They're just throwing money at problems, and none of that money has fallen on Molalla. You know, we look at our 211 going through town, and we all know the history there. You know, it hasn't been touched in over 20 years, and it needs to be completely redone. But yeah, ODOT, I support this letter.
Okay.
So we just need a motion?
Motion, second, and a vote. And Kristy will type it up and put space on it for all our signatures.
So I make a motion that we sign this letter and send it off.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? Yes, ma'am.
The items that you state in there, the percentages and things, where do those numbers come from? Have you, I'm not familiar enough with this to know whether I really.
What I discussed before the letter?
Mm-hmm.
This was actually posted by Representative Boomer Wright, and it's also been discussed by Representative Beauchart Davis and Senator Bonham.
Have their facts been checked to make sure it's factual?
Yes. And I know some of the funding also, which I didn't bring up, the tire tax, some of that funding, and it's confirmed, is supposed to be going to fish habitat, investigating our tires falling apart and going into fish habitat. And then there was one of these, and I don't remember exactly which one, it's going to rail investment, like Amtrak, not light rail. And so it's,
Well, rail is an ODOT, it is covered under
Yeah.
ODOT. It has
Right.
been for a number of years.
but we can't even get our roads paved.
I know,
And,
but
I just-
Amtrak's been paid for by
right,
the government forever.
Yeah.
City Manager Huff.
Not to interrupt, but just to clarify one thing. Do you want it to be the Molalla City Council with the mayor's signature on behalf of the entire council, or have everyone's signature on the letter?
I personally think it's more powerful if all of our signatures are on
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
If we do not have a unanimous vote, then we can do, the mayor
Behalf.
on behalf of the council, because I don't want to force somebody to sign something they don't want to, but if it goes by majority, then we can.
So since we don't have the letter with us here tonight, what that requires is for all of you to stop by at your convenience and sign the letter.
I know a few councilors will be in City Hall next Monday, getting packets for the conference.
Oh?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm perfectly fine with the mayor signing on behalf of the city because I'm not satisfied. I haven't looked at this. I don't know enough about it to
Okay.
be comfortable signing my name to it.
Okay.
But I will support the council decision. Therefore, if he signs on behalf of us, we're all covered that way.
Perfect. Any other comments or questions? Kristy, we have a motion and a second. Will you call the vote?
I will. I have it.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
On the letter, if you would like, I can list each
we can
individual
list you all.
counselor's name. So it would be on behalf of the Molalla City Council with mayor's signature, and then every counselor's name just typed underneath. Is that appropriate?
If Counselor Childers doesn't want her name on it, then we could just do mayor on behalf of the
I
council.
see. Okay.
Counselor Childers isn't comfortable, so I think that what she suggested is fair.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes, ma'am, sorry.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Would you feel more comfortable if certain things that are cited, certain information is cited at the bottom of the letter for them to double check?
No, because there's just too much in there.
Okay. That was just a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. And we need to get on with it. I don't want to hold it up.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
yeah, I'd like to take it with me to LOC next week. There's a few mayors that knew I was doing this and wanted to see a copy of our letter, and I said, well, it's kind of word crafted for our city, but it'll be a start for them,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Understood.
Especially since we're gonna be, Mr. McCauley will be there.
Right.
I don't know where he got his approval from.
No,
We have a motion from Counselor Schenkel and a second by Council President Vermillion. Are we ready to call the vote?
yes, ma'am.
Very good. Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Botsford.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right. Up next, staff communication. Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
We're back. Do you have any communication for us tonight?
Yeah, finance is going well. I got the budget, the hard copies done. I'm working on the electronic copy right now. We've been transferring our banking services over. We had our bank representative come out and help us all day, one day, and things are running smoothly.
Perfect. Are we able to get hard copies sooner than later?
Week before budget. If
Okay.
it's too far before then, it's always,
But you're saying the Friday, at least the Friday before though, right?
at least, but it'll probably be the Wednesday before. So
Perfect.
Wednesday to Wednesday. Yeah.
Perfect. And do you remember that date? So we all scratch out that weekend in our life to go through this book?
I'll send you a reminder.
Perfect.
Thank you.
As soon as you get the reminder, scratch out that weekend, guys. Read really closely to this. It takes a minute.
It's 213 pages, so
Oh, it's shorter this year.
It's got pictures though, Scott.
lots of pictures.
Crayons? Kristy, got anything for us tonight?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Assistant City Manager Corthell, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. I have the, your quarterly community development report. So I'm not gonna, as the city manager suggested, go through all of this with you guys. I'm just gonna focus on a couple of projects and big things that are going on. Obviously, your wastewater treatment plant project is moving forward, without any real hiccups. You know, just the standard stuff that you'd expect in a project of this size. So everything seems to be going on track and on schedule, as we sit here today. That can always change next week or the week after, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We had the groundbreaking for Chief Yelkus Park today, so obviously that's a very exciting addition to the park's inventory. And then we had a town hall for the urban growth boundary last night. I think we probably had over 100 people. It was the fullest I've ever seen this room. It was overall very, very positive. We got a lot of really, really good questions. A lot of people that were there that were interested and wanted to learn about what was going on. And so that was really, you know, as well received as any urban growth boundary town hall can be. And the other thing is that there is a survey out there. We're correcting the Facebook link, but if you access it through the Molalla Current and the urban growth boundary page and go to surveys, it'll take you straight through without a hiccup. Or if you had the handout, there's a QR code and that functions too. I've currently got Jessica fixing the Facebook link, and I'm expecting a text message anytime to tell me that it has been corrected. So by the end of the evening, you all should be able to, if anyone's at home, go to the Facebook link and get right into that survey without having to put the name of your firstborn and all the other stuff it was asking for. So anyways, we're getting that corrected. At any rate, that's kind of the big things. The Lola project you guys just approved obviously is in the capital plan, and that is the last of the I&I projects from the consent decree, which is kind of an exciting step for the city. I know you guys have been under the umbrella of that consent decree for several years before my time, and so this is kind of that first step towards ending that, which is a great step. So that project, when it's done, will finish all of the I&I projects from that consent decree. Not to say that there's not always more work to do on I&I, but this will complete that part. So that's all I've got for the moment.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Any questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Mr. Huff?
Yeah, Mac was very brief.
He's tired.
So I'm gonna add a couple of things there. If you haven't been by Clark Park, the pavilion in Clark Park is down. One of our great partners, MCC, provided some funding to rebuild that thing. It was damaged in the ice storm. We just haven't figured out how to get it rebuilt. So that's happening, and that's a pretty cool thing. And the Park CPC worked pretty hard because the funding they raised filled the gap in. That's good. And over there, we fixed on the east end of Shirley or Francis, depending on your perspective. Just Shirley. Y'all can ask Councilor Childress about that one after the meeting. We damaged it a little bit more than it was already damaged with the truckloads of dirt that Mac was taking up around the other side of the park, but that's all finished. And if you haven't seen, we cut a tree down over there by the entrance to the Buckaroo. Nobody complained, but we did. And that project's underway. And there's paving on Heinz, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot of new things happening when the Buckaroo actually does happen. There's new things in Molalla. So that's a good thing. The police station report will happen again at your next meeting. If you haven't driven by there lately, it's always kind of fun to drive by. Even if you don't go inside, you can see new things happening, and it actually looks like a real place. So that's good. What else, Mac, did you not bring up that we need to bring up?
I have one question. With Chief Yelkus Park getting started, do we have enough dirt at the Clark Park Annex, or can we shuffle some of that dirt that's going to be coming out of Chief Yelkus Park up to that pile too to save on costs?
We think there's more than enough up there right now.
Okay.
There's a small likelihood, obviously, we need to get topo and topographic surveys and that sort of thing to determine the volume needed, but just by eye shot, we think we're probably over a little bit. But we do have other options, things like putting a berm in Bolander Field between the church property and Bolander to prevent people trying to skirt through there when they get frustrated waiting in lines and that sort of thing. So there are other places that we could use it too, so.
Okay. Perfect.
And second, and lastly, just, I think that was enough of the things that people see going on when they're moving around town. Thank you for approving my contract, because I know Kristy's happy for some reason, I'm not sure why. But I do appreciate being here. I wouldn't have stayed here as long as I have if I didn't. And I appreciate the folks that I get to work with every day. Some of them are here tonight, and especially you all. So, and this is a great town, and people who live here need to remember that every day. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gilmer.
Got nothing.
Councilor Bartholomew. Councilor Botsford.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Chamber of Commerce meeting, we discussed, we're going to have our first official networking evening meeting tomorrow. That's why I was looking at my notes to make sure I get her name right. Holly's Home Place Farms, tomorrow from 5:30 to 7. It's going to be an after hours instead of usually do our networking meetings first thing in the morning. So everybody's welcome. Other than that, we also met with Lieutenant Call, getting in some more parade details. I do have to say, the last couple of years, he has come to the chamber and we've discussed, for when we moved from the high school to Bolander Field, now we're every before and after he comes and we sit down and discuss, what worked great, what didn't work great. And I have to say, we're making little improvements every year and it seems to be coming together quite well. So, and of course, also don't forget, on the 4th of July, we always need volunteers for that too. And that's all I have.
Are you doing a theme this year?
Well, now it's not officially approved through the board yet. We discussed it 2 years ago about probably, since it's gonna be the 5-year anniversary of the fire, honoring those who helped save our town. But please don't quote me on that because it
Right.
hasn't been like official yet this year, but that's what was suggested a couple years with, and that was kind of the theme.
No idea.
All right. Anything else? All right.
Thank you. 6 years.
Councilor Schenkel, I know you got lots.
Do you want to do the,
No.
I get to do the trash? Okay. I just want to remind everybody
It's the
that
spring cleanup.
spring cleanup is this Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. both days. Don't come earlier than 8 o'clock because I won't let you in. And
She won't.
I know, I'm really
You said be there
nasty.
at 7:45.
She won't.
Volunteers.
Oh, okay,
Us,
okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Don't bring your trash until 8 o'clock. We will have Goodwill there. Jason Weber will have his stuff. He'll be taking all of your,
Scrap metal.
all your scrap metal, anything you, all appliances, all kinds of stuff he takes. Tires, there is a fee. It's not $5 this year. It's going to be a little bit higher, but I don't know what it was. The drug take back will be there both days, right?
Yes, from 9 till 3.
9 till 3, the police will be there to take back any of your drugs that you want to bring in, if you don't want to dump them down your toilet. And then, of course, our trash. Any big furniture that you have, you need to break it up. Do not bring in a couch and get mad at us because we tell you you can't dump it. You've got to break that little bugger up. Same with oversized chairs like recliners. No, you can't dump the whole chair into the thing. You got to take it apart. Right? What did I forget?
Mattresses.
Mattresses, yes, we do take mattresses. Get a lot of those. And I think that's it. Should be a busy day. Kind of looking forward to it.
Weather's going to
Say what kind of junk you're going to bring in that I might want to take home.
Councilor Childress.
I have nothing other than to say it was really fun today being at the groundbreaking for the Cheek Vialcas Park.
Yep.
The more that we do that honors Mollalla's heritage, the more fun it is. And I think we're getting one of the most fun things at this park, which is the large coyote-shaped play area, play element, whatever.
Structure.
Play structure, thank you. We work well together. And so that was really exciting to be there today, and thank you all for making those things available for us.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. Council President Vermillion.
Thank you. I'll follow up on the Chief Yelkus Park, the groundbreaking ceremony today. I'm an in-building sub at Molalla Elementary School, and I've been showing the pictures to a vast array of kids, kindergarten through 5th grade, and they're loving the coyote structure that you brought up. So today it was a lot of fun meeting the 2 representatives from Grand Ron and one that said that she is a descendant from the Molalla tribe. But it was a great time. It's going to be a great addition to our community. The Park CPC, they did meet on April 14th. Some updates there. The sign class, their profit is $218. Profit for the braided bread was $208. El Chorrito, they were scheduled, I forgot the original date, but they've rescheduled to May 23rd, where they will donate 1% of profit to the parks. That is a Friday, so mark your calendars to go out to eat that Friday. The next fundraiser coming up is the Krispy Kreme fundraiser right here. Rotary Park between O'Reilly's and Molalla Car Wash, that's May 3rd. If you need an address, it's 510 West Main Street. So our next meeting, May 15th at City Hall, 5:30. We will be transitioning to meeting in the park come June. The first park meeting will be at Fox Park in June. So that's all I've got.
Thank the Lord, I'm gonna be out of town on May 3rd. I love donuts. Wow, it's been a long day. First off, I'd like to thank staff. You guys have double dutied this week. Appreciate your guys' effort last night and tonight. Chief Yelkus Park, that was a total grand slam event today. Really appreciate it. I would be horribly thought of if I didn't thank Russ and Gordon for the great job tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Kristy, absolutely great job with this packet. I know you're behind the rock in a hard place trying to get us caught up, and this was perfect, and I told you we wouldn't be too late tonight. Next week, council, we all go to LOC, meet lots of people, learn lots of stuff. Try not to sit all together. It makes our city recorder crazy when we come back and she hears that we've been all sitting together. Huh?
Sorry.
Did you say she won't be there?
Maybe they're babysit.
But try to sit with other people, get to meet other counselors and mayors from other city, listen to their stories. They all have great stories. They're like fishermen. They tell big stories sometimes. Some of them are really good though. But it should be a really good conference. Check out the community. Take lots of pictures. I know the Mayor Engelke, she loves, there's one restaurant in North Bend that it's, the whole sidewall is like a big mural that says North Bend, and she loves it when we go up there and take a picture and put it on our Facebook and tag North Bend on it. It's kind of a thing. Kelly and I went there for a weekend for dinner, and that's what we did. Next month's gonna be really busy, guys. Keep in mind, we're meeting every week for 3 weeks straight, and possibly twice in 1 week if we don't approve the budget in the first night. So please be here. Please read your budgets. Cindy works very hard to get them out to all of us, and the more you know, the better off you are. Thank you, Kristy, for signing up to be on the planning committee and filling that hole, double duty. Appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Better get some good reading glasses. Big packets coming.
Ready.
Mac will teach you well. He's a good teacher. So with that, I suppose I should put these on so I can read again. Sucks going blind. Held pursuant to Oregon Public Records Law, ORS 192.6602, letter E. We are having a executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. If there's anything that we need to vote on, we will reconvene this meeting after executive session. So I will recess us at 8:17.
So we still got-